Hey, welcome to How to Build Your Own Home. I want to talk about gravel. A lot of times, especially in rural environments, when you got 2, 3, 4 acres, you've got long drives, and the cost for asphalt, cost for brick pavers, even the cost for concrete is quite high. And so one of the things that a lot of people end up doing is they put on a gravel drive. And I want to talk about that. If you go with the small pea gravel, which is a round circular gravel, it's going to sink in the ground. It's not going to lock in very well, and you're going to constantly replace it with new gravel every spring. So something you kind of want to avoid. What I have found is to find a gravel that's got some jagged edges to it. So this here, some gravel, and it's not uniform in size. There's some that are a 1/4 inch, some that's a 1/2 inch. It goes up to about maybe 2 inches in size, but it's all jagged. So that locks in really nicely on a drive when you're putting down a drive. And it may not be a smooth finish that a lot of people want. Some people put like a chat, which is a really compactable, flaky gravel. But when that hits with water, boy, that can create a mud bog. Same thing with like a city spec road base, which is part sand, part aggregate, and a little bit of native soils, maybe a little bit of a clay or something like that. And that's great for under foundation work. And it's great for under a road, an asphalt road. A lot of jurisdictions will put 6 inches, maybe 12 inches of that stuff underneath your asphalt. But it's not really good for exposure, meaning water runoff turns into a mud bog. This here, when you get 2 or 3 inches of that on there, the water goes through it, and pretty much you'll have that rigid, jagged road on top of that, which is really nice for traction, especially in a snow environment. And you can actually plow over it as well. You may need to replace that or add some, every year or so, but it's nothing compared to a lot of gravel. If it's small, like a pea gravel, it gets pushed into the ground. I actually saw some technology where they were taking tires, used tires, digging them into the ground, and then putting all the gravel inside the tires and on top of that. So what did that do? The natural course of gravel is that when you drive on it and it's wet, you drive on it and it dries and it wets, it wants to push that gravel out and away, out and away. You'll notice that people have driveways. If you drive on the driveway all the time and in the same way you drive, you start creating a rut. It's by default. My wife we had a house down in town. We had a gravel driveway, and she would drive in the same spot, and there was a big, huge rut there. I'd actually kind of go out there and rake the gravel and try to push it back in spot. And that was a pea gravel, and it wasn't something like this. But again, it requires a little bit bigger gravel. I wouldn't recommend a gravel like this one. This gravel here is what we had to put in as part of the permit. This is called a trackout pad, or typically a pad as you drive over it and your tires are muddy from a rainstorm. This gravel will tend to help clean off that mud that's caked on your tires, and it's called a trackout pad. But these are hard to walk on, and so this is like a 3 or 4, sometimes even a 5-inch large boulder aggregate, but it's really hard to walk on. This here gravel over here is a little easier to walk on. This here is not going to collect a lot of mud at all because it's so big, and the water just runs off the rock and down into the substrate. So it's actually easier and better for not building up mud. This here, I'm going to have to do 2 to 3 inches of it. It will lock in, but again, it will be porous so the water can actually filter through it. What you don't want is something like this. If water hits that there, it's just going to turn into a boggy scenario. And that's what we're trying to avoid. That's why you use an aggregate of some kind. So we're going to spread this. We got it from a source in town. They have a selection there, and we looked at all the selections, and I was looking for something jagged. It was a little bit more, but this will be a lot more lasting for the client until maybe someday they might want to do concrete, or someday they might want to do asphalt. But at least this will hold them up for several years. So we're going to spread it out and see if we can get this done in the next couple of hours. This is Keith talking about gravel and how to make it lasting on your driveway in a rural environment.